Good evening. Good evening. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Charles Lever, pastor of Orange Park United Methodist Church, to come and give an invocation for us. If you'd please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we gather here tonight grateful for this community in which we live and for the children and youth which represent our future. We thank you for the opportunity to be in ministry to our children and youth. We do not take lightly the roles we share as parents, as teachers, as school support personnel, and as administrators. We recognize that we have the opportunity to mold and shape the understanding of our students in ways that can shape them positively for a lifetime. And we recognize that we can do far more when we work together than when we are apart. We're blessed, O Lord, with educators who want to teach, administrators who want to lead, a school board which wants to serve, and a superintendent who wants to enable our students to fully actualize their potential in life. Enable us, O Lord, to teach our students respect by respecting one another. Enable us to teach our students how blessed we are by taking time to count the blessings we enjoy. Enable us to teach our students the value of their talents and abilities by revealing to them the difference that one person can make for the good. Enable us to teach our students the ways of love by rising above the pettiness of personal differences for the common good. Enable us to express to our students our appreciation for what others have done for us by doing things for others. Enable us to prepare our students to seize the opportunities that are presented to them in life by providing an environment for them which nurtures and cultivates the enlightenment of body, soul, mind, and spirit. And enable us to teach our students how to strive for excellence by accepting change gracefully when it is necessary to move beyond what we are to what we can become. For the blessings of life and liberty, for the blessings of this great nation, for the blessings of our communities and our schools, and for all who seek to learn and work within, we give you thanks. Amen. Amen. May we remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Lever. At this time, I'll call to order the school board meeting for the Clay County School District of January 5th. I'd like to welcome the citizens of Clay County and take this opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room, indicating the specific item, number, or topic you wish to speak about, and turn it in promptly. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the discussion agenda. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Mike Wingate to come up, and he is going to recognize St. Vincent's Medical Center. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Board Superintendent, for the opportunity to always recognize our community, our faculties, our support staff, students. Certainly that's what makes the great Clay County school system what it is. So again, I just want to thank you for that. Tonight we're going to again recognize one of our outstanding business partners, and you're certainly familiar with St. Vincent's. We came to you roughly a year and a half ago when they so generously provided athletic trainers for all of our secondary schools. As I did a little bit of research on this and called around to other districts, some districts were building into their budgets athletic trainers, which comes at a great cost. And here we've got a business partner right here who has worked with us. I can tell you, in meeting with the athletic directors, it is a tremendous help to have that at our secondary school. So again, I came to you about a year and a half, 2 years ago for that issue, and tonight we have another announcement we just want to make. They're making a donation to us. Before we get to that, let me introduce to the person who's representing St. Vincent's tonight. He's the CNO and the COO of St. Vincent's. I practiced his name for at least 10 minutes today. It's Mr. Rene Grodier. So let me call him up real fast. Mr. Grodier, come on up here real quick, okay? Thank you, sir. About a year ago, we approached St. Vincent's. Certainly, I'm sure all of you have heard stories around the country where we have a student athletic event or an athlete go down, either some kind of respiratory problem, heart problem, etc. And we hear these sad stories all around the country. And so naturally, all of our schools have AEDs, but we think we should have more than what we have right now. So we did a little calculation, and we determined that we wanted every school, secondary, we're working on the elementary, but right now we're talking about secondary, the junior high and high school. We want every school to have at least 3 AEDs. And what we found out that our junior highs had 2 at most, and 2 of our high schools only had 2. So you can imagine a large campus. You've got a football game going on. You got something going on in the gym. If it's during the day, you've got PE fields being used. You've got students walking in classes. And so we know that every second counts. And so the more AEDs we have available, it just makes our kids, our staff members safer. So after we did this calculation, we determined we needed at least 9 more AEDs. That, folks, comes at a cost of about $1,500 per AED. So we approached the folks at St. Vincent's several months ago, and here we are, provided 9 AEDs to our 7 junior highs and to our 2 high schools that did not meet the 3 AED threshold. So we are just extremely appreciative of that. And St. Vincent's has been such a great partner of ours. We just can't say enough. And sir, we just want you to pass that on to all the members. And so again, Mr. Rene Grodier, we'll let him say a few words. So again, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And actually, on behalf of James Machado, our president, and all the physicians and associates at Clay County, it really is our honor to be here tonight to again to be recognized for this. But it really just fits into our mission. And what's been so exciting at St. Vincent's since we opened up the Clay County campus in October of 2013. Again, it's just been a real joy to be a part of the community. And again, this just really fits into our mission, and that is that we want to serve the people of our community. So again, just really thank you for letting us have the opportunity to fulfill our mission. Thank you.
And Mr. Wingate, you have another?
Yes, and now let's. We want to recognize a student. That's what we're all here for. So right now we've got another recognition we'd like to make. And again, like I said, it's one of our students. We have a representative. In fact, she is the VSA Florida Regional Coordinator that's assigned to our district, Mrs. Pat York, and a teacher from Keystone High School, Mrs. Melanie Rodriguez. They're going to introduce the student, tell you a little bit about the program, why this student's being recognized. So let me call up now Mrs. York and Mrs. Rodriguez.
Thank you for allowing me to come this evening and do this presentation. It's one of my best parts of my job. VSA Florida is the state organization for arts and disabilities. It is our mission to provide, support, and champion arts education and cultural experiences for and by people with disabilities. Our vision is to create a world in which the arts are universally accessible, and we do this by conducting art education programs in schools. Clay County has one in Lake Ashbury Elementary School starting in, I believe, a couple weeks. We also provide these programs to the Department of Juvenile Justice Facilities and community centers. We try to promote the accomplishments of artists with disabilities through our artist registry, exhibitions, and performances, and we increase access to the arts through professional development workshops. We are an affiliate of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C., and our headquarters is at the University of South Florida. But the real reason that I am here is to recognize 15-year-old Markle Laster as one of our December Student of the Month. Now, this is not a this is not a city, school, county award. This is a state award, so this is a big deal. He was nominated by his ESE classroom teacher, Melanie Rodriguez, from Keystone Heights High School. She writes that Markel has a passion for drawing by taking cues from YouTube videos of working professional artists. Markel has learned to enhance his personal artwork with original details and creative imagery. As a young man with autism, Markel demonstrates remarkable ability to augment his education through the use of technology that has been provided in the classroom. Outside the classroom, he is involved with community-based vocational education. He works in the school garden, and he helps out at church. The VSA Florida State Student of the Month program is designed to increase public awareness and recognize the impact art makes on students with disabilities statewide. Students who participate in the arts develop creatively, have increased self-confidence, understand teamwork, have increased language and math skills, and are usually generally more engaged with less discipline problems, and they watch less TV. But without further ado, I'd like to bring Markel up and give him his trophy and Amazon gift card. I'd also like to say that the trophy that he is receiving is a one-of-a-kind, designed by a professional artist. It is engraved with his name, so there's no other trophy that's like his.
That's really wonderful. Something we've added to our agenda since our new superintendent came on, Mr. Davis, is our school showcase. And I really enjoy it, and I think the rest of the board does. Tonight we're going to showcase Plantation Oaks Elementary School, and the principal is Miss Jennifer Roach.
Hi. Jordan. My name is Jennifer Roach, and I am the principal of Plantation Oaks Elementary. Thank you for the opportunity to feature our school tonight. One of the elements that we pride ourselves in is the improved morale noted by teachers, parents, and students. We're also very proud of the rich culture created by the high level of diversity among our PO families. Our response to the influx of military families in our school also enhances this culture. We facilitated this transformation via the consistent promotion of the tagline, One PO. This mindset is centered around the idea of working cohesively with all stakeholders to improve teaching and learning. The results from these efforts have shown up on state and local test results. For example, our third grade FSA scores were tied for number 1 in the county for math and ranked number 2 in reading. 2 of our third grade classrooms even had 100% proficiency. Fourth grade scores for FSA math and reading were number 3 and 4 respectively, and had the highest learning goals in the school. We saw major improvements in science scores among our 5th graders, ranking 5th in the county, and we plan to see continued improvement in this area with the addition of our 8th resource class, the Science Lab. Along with successes and accomplishments, we're also focused on opportunities for growth. We've directed significant attention to improving learning gains, specifically among our lowest quartile students. And our plan for transformation has included structuring our common planning time to focus on formative assessments and targeted intervention strategies. We believe that these collaborative efforts, combined with classroom visits by teachers and administrators, will also improve our 5th grade FSA scores. To help manage the size of our school, we've also created 4 co-teach structures in which 2 teachers collaboratively instruct up to 34 students within the same classroom. To further enhance teaching and learning, we've recently purchased 3 class sets of Chromebooks. I could talk for hours about the wonderful events that we host and the extracurriculars we offer, such as Spanish Club, which allows students to earn junior high credit, the robotics team, student council, and much more. But instead, I've compiled a short video that showcases some of the great things going on at PO. Hopefully, it will allow you to truly see what attracts staff, students, and families to POE. Thank you for allowing me to share our story.
Poe serves over 1,300 students daily. When we include parents, our Poe family is over 4,000 strong. At Poe, we place the value of our people over everything else. In a school our size, it would be easy for a student to feel lost in the crowd, so we work hard to create a family atmosphere where everyone has a sense of belonging.
Hi, I'm Jen Thurman. I teach second grade at Plantation Oaks Elementary, and one thing that I love about working at Poe is the culture. With nearly 1,300 students and a large, highly qualified staff, our school family comes from all over the place and is overflowing with great ideas and someone that's always there to lend a helping hand.
Teacher morale is a top priority in maintaining the school climate that drives our success.
When I think of Plantation Oaks Elementary School, united is what comes to mind. I believe Poe is a united school built from experiences derived from many different backgrounds, but all coming together for our common goal, the success of our students.
In a school our size, we get to celebrate student success frequently.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for inviting me, and I'd also like to thank my assistant principals for joining me, Mr. Darren Brown and Ms. Corey Boyko. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have presentations from the audience, which is our public comment time. The first one I have is Mr. Keith Nichols.
My name is Keith Nichols, and my address is on the card. And I had not planned to speak tonight, but I want to mention one thing. I understand on the 12th you're all going to have a workshop to basically decide whether you're going to keep the GPS or not. And, you know, I know that some of you are rethinking it. Please don't. You know, the ideal of getting rid of it is a good idea. And I really need to take you all shopping someday, you know, because you all have a different ideal of shopping than I do. When I go into a store and the salesman lies to me, I walk out the door. I don't sit there and go, well, excuse me, what else have you got? Right now, folks, what you have to understand is the people that sold this to you didn't tell you everything about it. You don't have the navigation system that you thought you had. You don't have the engine diagnostics that you were told about. We still have not implemented the student on board. Incidentally, just so y'all know, I actually texted Mr. Davis this morning. The system was completely broke this morning. A lot of people couldn't log on. Every time I tried to put a student in, it would come up and say, you need to update your roster. I would tell it to update the roster. It would say, sorry, I can't update the roster. By the way, you need to update the roster. And just kept doing an endless loop like this. You bought something, you were sold a bill of goods that didn't do what it was supposed to do. It's not worth $547,000. The people that stood up here and talked to you and sold you on it knew that it didn't do what it was supposed to do, what they were saying it was going to do, and I really don't understand why they're still working for us. But you need to think about it. You need to look at it long and hard because it's not doing. Let me ask you one question. Think about this. Who was the bus driver that stood up here and told you all when they were saying that it was real-time access of being able to know where the buses was? Who was the bus driver that stood up here and told you that it wasn't real-time access because it depended on if they had cell service? I think that was me. Guess what we're finding out? We're finding out that we don't get service a lot in Keystone and out on Clay Hill. Why? Because it's based on the cell service. So you need to, whenever these people stand up here and tell you what they want, you need to grill them. You need to rake them over the coals, not because you're trying to be mean, but because you're trying to be smart. Okay? And that's basically all I got. You know, don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. At this time, Ms. Rebecca Smith.
My name is Rebecca Smith. My address is on file. Like Mr. Nichols says, we stood up here for over a period of 3 years, I believe it was, talking about these GPSs. I do believe that we need to be good stewards of the money the citizens of Clay County has entrusted us. Does it make sense? Does it make sense having a system that we don't get data? You're relying on these systems to gather data. FEPs, are you really willing to trust these systems that we keep telling you they're not working right? Are you willing to trust these systems on your FEPs? That's how we make our money for our buses. I mean, for real. We really need to think this thing through. Now, every time I've said something to this board, I tried to tell each and every one of you where you can find the data to keep me honest, to show that I'm being truthful to you. And I don't think there's a time that any of you could say I've been not truthful to you. I take stock in being truthful. Integrity means something to me. When I'm lied to, I get angry. I don't like being lied to. I don't like being misled. This board was duped. I don't know how many times we have to tell you this. This is your vote. Y'all vote. This is your record. It's not ours. It's yours. Now, you can travel down the path of destruction. That's your choice. We, the voters, were watching, and I think we've showed that in Clay County. The voters are watching. We elected you to do a job, and doggone, you need to do your job. Do that research. Ask these hard questions. If I lie to you, I'm sure I'll be standing on the corner of Blennon and Kingsley, holding a sign up saying, well, I messed up. Okay? I'm not without holding the sign up. Y'all know I'll hold the sign up. Okay? But I expect, as a citizen of Clay County, you do your jobs. We don't like to see y'all to have egg on y'all's faces. We don't like seeing y'all being made idiots. Okay, I'm serious. I mean, I don't know what else you could call it. Okay? You know, I just speak from the heart. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I am a system member, so I just thought I'd say that too. I'm proud to be one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. At this time, we'll move into the adoption of the consent agenda. With the following items have been pulled to discussion: items C2, C6, C8, C8A, and C14, and items C9, C10, and C12 were withdrawn from the agenda. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval except for the items that were pulled or withdrawn.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Studdard, a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 5-0. And now we come up to the CCEA update, and I'd like to ask Ms. Renalee Paiva to please come up.
Good evening. Renalee Paiva, President of the CCEA. Did you just pass our contract?
No, it was pulled.
Oh, okay.
It was pulled because a citizen wanted to address it. We had a card on it.
Okay.
So that's the only reason.
So I'm going to get rid of the first part of what I was going to say to you.
If you'd like to speak again before that item, you can speak again.
I imagine that somewhere after that item that I'll be able to come up here.
Yes.
We had our monthly meeting with Mr. Davis and Mr. Broski, the CCEA, meaning I, representing, and one of the things that I spoke about last month was a notary in every school like we used to have, and Mr. Davis has graciously said that he's going to work diligently to do that. Thank you. I think it's important not only for our employees who often need a notary, but also our parents who now can rest assured that there will be a notary at each school, and they can go there and use it and have that burden of having to do their documents. As a guidance counselor, I often had, I was always grateful we always had a notary at Orange Park Junior High. So I appreciate that, and I think that our faculty will appreciate that also. Your legislative priorities, I like them. They're concise. I like cutting them down, but I do have a request, and this is a request that I spoke to you last year about. Ms. Bowler, you weren't here, but you were on that side with me last year, and that was about the millage. And it's always a touchy subject. I am well aware of that, but it is one of your legislative priorities. You can do something with millage. I gave you a whole bunch of breakdown last year on what we could do with millage, but in your priorities, you had it only for capital. I would ask that you don't limit yourselves. Millage can be used for operational expenses or capital. Sales tax cannot be used for operational, but millage can. So if you could have a look at that again with your lawyers, and I gave you that if you need the paperwork again, because there are numerous counties that are using mills for operational expenses as well as capital expenses. I'll be willing to get that information for you again if you need it. You're doing a workshop next week. Thank you very much. Testing, and you've added allocations, and you've added the GPS that I know our support staff are really struggling with at the moment. This is the testing calendar. If you guys please look at it before next week, because I have moved my executive meeting, so I will be there. You know, testing is close to my heart. For some reason, Comcast isn't working, so all those teachers who are watching are really angry at the moment, and it's not our fault. So I had to dispel that there was a conspiracy going on at the school board level that they weren't being able to, because they all want to watch you ratify the contract. And it is being live streamed. They've worked really hard to get it live streaming, but Comcast won't answer the telephone. So I will ask that I will have to send something out and ask my reps to do their due diligence and ask teachers to come out to your workshop and tell their story. Because when it comes to local testing, and this is what the legislators don't understand, it varies. It might be one period of testing for high school juniors or seniors, or kids who are used to testing, but that doesn't translate for our language impaired, who our teachers spent 12 hours per kid trying to get them through a local test. That's not a state test, that's a local test. That's something we've done with learning how to do the screens, learning the drop down. Kids swipe everything. Then you ask kid, go on a mouse and move it down and move the drop down boxes, they're lost. That's a problem with our testing, and that's a problem with our local testing. It isn't the test that takes all the time. It's the teaching of the mechanics of doing the tests. So therefore, by the time the kid has learned that and been frustrated, I'm not sure we have a valid evaluation of what the child learns. because I'm already angry. And now we have angry children, and there's nothing worse than an angry third grader working a computer. Okay, so I'd just rather go, here's the first thing, I'll hit that. You know, I'll hit that. You know, second page of answers, that's a problem. I need the teachers to come and explain this and show this to you. And if you have parents, you know, that you have children, then you kind of get it, you know, because they say it to you. But you know, the people of us that don't have any children, you know, you might not understand. So when the state legislators, I need you, the school board, to get the state legislators to understand. It's not so much the test, and I'm going to repeat this again for the public. Teachers are not afraid of accountability, and we're certainly not afraid of tests. We developed them. We did them. We do them constantly. But what we do we want to stop wasting time, stop our children wasting time, and we want to get back to teaching. We want to get back to the methodology of teaching, why we teach, what we do. And that's what we need our local school board to stand up for us. That's my thing on the legislative priority, and I have one other thing that I didn't speak to anybody about, but I did speak to my executive director, Tracy Butler, about earlier. I saw the whistleblower protection, and you know, I've seen some of the languages on whistleblowers. I'm just as confused now as I was the day of it, because I have lawyers on one side saying, you know, we're not state employees, we don't get covered. Then I have lawyers on the other side saying, oh yes we do. I personally we had the ethics officers in from the state in our office, in our building, and told us we are not covered by it, we're not state employees. So I don't know what to believe on that. So obviously we need some more work to do. We need to find some, and maybe you need to bring that ethics person that was in our office, you know, one of the investigators, and tell us, you know, because we're willing to do it. But one of the things I'd like to throw out to you, there's a lot of teachers and a lot of support and probably a lot of parents who have things to say or are concerned about things that could or might happen, not saying that they are, but you know, lots of government agencies have a fraud abuse hotline, and maybe we ought to at least think about it, you know, not so much of fraud, even for ideas on how to communicate with people. You know, sometimes parents, they're just inspired enough to pick up a phone and call a hotline than they are to wait for the next day and say, sometimes not so good, sometimes good. But it's another way to open the communication, and I think teachers have asked for it before. They've had the discussion about it, and maybe it's something in the future we might want to look at. Get that GPS money back and put a hotline in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. I'd like to ask for the CESPA update from Ms. Teresa Dixon.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Dixon, CESPA president. I just wanted to start out riding on Renalee's coattails a little bit regarding the testing, and just let you know, as I said in the last meeting, my job in the school is the testing coordinator position for Ridgeview High School. We have a great school, we have great staff, our teachers do a wonderful job, and they work very hard to prepare the students, as do, you know, I'm sure all the other schools in the county, but I'm at Ridgeview, so I can speak firsthand about that. But what I wanted to say is the last 3 days of work, what I've been predominantly doing is scheduling all my testing that's upcoming for spring from now to the end of the school year. And I'd just like to kind of give you a picture of what that looks like. I will start on January 9th with practice tests for every teacher who teaches any kind of a EOC or an ELA class. They all must, every student must complete the practice test for all of the exams. So that's a day of instruction time lost for that teacher in the class. She's got to take her class to the lab, do the practice exams for every subject that the student will be tested in. So the majority of the students, you're talking about 4 class periods that they're going to lose instruction just for the practice. Then February, I go into PERT testing for those students who haven't yet been able to pass that EOC, that Algebra 1 EOC. We're trying to get that concordance score. So they'll be taking the PERT test. The end of February, then we start state assessments, the end of February. It's scheduled right now, retakes for the 27th and 28th at Ridgeview, but it's different throughout the county. You know, different schools might do a slightly different schedule, but for our population of students, this is the way we had to schedule it to get everybody in when they needed to be. So that's February. 3 days of testing in February. Doesn't sound too bad. Then we move into March. There are 8 days in the entire month of March where we are not testing. 8 days. Then I move into April. I will test every day of April, the entire month, every day. Then we move into May. Again, I will test every day for the month of May, going and completing my testing on June 1st, which then the students will immediately go right into end of course exams. That's what testing looks like in the real world. Okay, so to get on from there, so please press that legislative agenda. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. Some things from CESPA perspective, some things that we'd like you to be aware of. And we've spoken, we've had lots of conversations regarding substitutes for custodial staff. It's a real problem because already we have custodial staff. The workforce has already been reduced. If they miss a time from work because and no sub is called in, then their workload is doubled or tripled. It's just an impossible thing, going back and forth trying to catch up all the time. Teachers' classrooms are not being serviced the way that they should be, not at the fault of the custodial staff, but at the fault of not having appropriate substitutes available to fill in when absences occur. That affects our students. So right now we have been in discussions regarding substitutes, and I'd just like to offer some suggestions that we've talked about before. Perhaps advertising that the district needs substitutes. We do have a substitute list. It's not being utilized, it's not being updated properly or the way that I feel that it could be. Perhaps in the newsletters that we send out as a school district, we could advertise, hey, you know, if you're interested in applying for a position as a substitute custodian, and enhance and enrich that list so that we can get some relief for these custodial issues and the proper work is done and the rooms are ready for these students. Another thing that I'd like to bring up are we're right around the corner from evaluations. And evaluation time always gets my people very panicky. We've had some difficulties in the past with evaluations, and panicky, nervous employees affect students, you know. So, you know, I just want to keep that in mind, you know, that doing those evaluations appropriately, getting the evaluations timely back to employees, of administrators getting in there and really looking and seeing what's going on. It's important for everybody, and we welcome that, but you know, it's a nervous time for my people. And I'll move right from that into a lot of my people are expressing grave concern, and this has been a concern over a decade at least that I know of the ability of support staff to move up the ladder. We've had this conversation before, and it's beneficial to the district to promote from within. All too often, I see promotions coming from outside, and our people are being left stagnant in the same position. When I took my position as a testing coordinator, one person commented to me, and I thought it was kind of ironic. They said, how in the world? Because I spent 22 years as a teacher's assistant. I loved my job, and I was good at my job. I was happy there. But when this position opened up, I felt like it would be a good fit, and I felt like it was time for me to make a move. I got lucky.
I was one of the very few that got lucky. But this person asked me, how did you hide away for 22 years as a teacher's assistant? I wasn't hiding away for too long. It was almost impossible because of contract language and policies and procedures for a person who is hired into a position such as a teacher's assistant to ever move out of that position and into something different. So that's something that we're going to be addressing. Open book bargaining is coming up very soon. And I'm not direct dealing here because we're not bargaining. But I just want to let you know that we're going to be looking for some changes. We're going to be looking for some things that are going to promote our people from within. These are the kinds of things that we seek to give our people more opportunities to show their skills and their talents and their abilities, and to enhance them and enhance their pay as well. So that's one thing that a lot of people are talking about. Another thing that has got to be a concern with open book bargaining coming up very soon is I see in the agenda we're hiring some new people, district level people, and that is always a concern. And so I guess my question then is, I'm concerned, are there going to be some eliminations to kind of counterbalance that? Because I'd like to see something left over when we go to that bargaining. For the last few years, we've taken a 5-cent increase. We've taken a 1-step increase. And that's basically it. We need to start thinking about how are we going to enrich the salary schedule for support employees. That salary schedule has not been enriched more than that nickel that we got the one year in many, many years. So I just want that to be on your radar so you're thinking about that, because we will be coming to the table to bargain very soon, and these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. She gave us a lot to think about. Next on our agenda is our superintendent's update.
Thank you. This evening, I want to take a moment to talk about the recent release of our graduation rates and talk about our successes. Before we get started, do we have any high school principals, teachers, or students here this evening? Please stand up. Let's give them a round of applause for a great job for what they've done. Thank you. This is another year where, turn this on. Another year where Clay County has demonstrated increases. As a result, to the recent data that has been released, the data illustrates the hard work that the district has dedicated to improving our graduation rates, and also highlights the opportunity for strengthening the focus of the academic performance. As you know, as a district, we will not just be measured on its educational destination, but the academic journey that it takes to arrive at graduation. And without the hard-working teachers, administrators, and staff members and family members, we would not be in a place where we are today. And as you can see as a summary analysis, you see that we have increased to 84.7, which is last year was at 83.7%, which is a 1% increase, which we will take and celebrate. We also say that you see that there's a 5-year analysis that shows that we've increased in the 5 years of a 10.5 percentage points, and also we have now become number 17th as it relates to graduation rate in the state. I just talked about the 10.5% in the district as it relates to our comparative analysis. You see that we started out in 11-12 at 74%, and now we are moving in the right direction in a staircase approach to 84.7 with aspirations of this year in 16-17 moving once again, which we'll talk about how we will do that in a strategic manner. If you look at our subgroups to determine how we're doing in the entire body of our organization, we look and see that we are still moving as it relates to the 5-year comparison, as it relates to looking at our subgroups. We see that there's really great celebration with Hispanics and also with our Asian and African American students. We see that there's definitely areas of opportunity. I will say that this year that we have, in the 5-year analysis, we graduated more graduates this year with 2,608 than we have in the last 5 years, which is a 200 plus more students within that we're moving to a graduation process to allow them to be college, career, life ready. If we look at additional opportunities, we see that additional focus areas, we see that our at-risk students are making tremendous strides. We see that in 11 and 12 that only 49% of these students were graduating, and now we're at 71%. We know that we still have growth, but an at-risk grad is a student who is a level 1 or 2 on the state assessment in the 8th grade, and as they become in their cohort, they're classified at risk. This means we are paying attention in our school system to our students and providing that assistance where needed. And I think that one of the big celebrations we need to acknowledge in this data set is the work that we have done through our ELL students. We see that we have had a 12% increase from last year to this year, which means that we're really focused on our students from other languages. The next is a simple comparison for districts that have the same amount of cohorts, that number of students that are graduated within our district. I'm not saying they're matched districts in reference to our socioeconomics, but ultimately looking at the number of high school students that have graduated. As you can see, and you look at the 5-year comparison with these school systems and surrounding systems and throughout the state, without a doubt, we have a 5-year comparison where we are outpacing with our growth. We do believe that there's opportunity to still strengthen our efforts for graduation as we seek to be comparable to St. John's and work hard to be in the 90+% as it relates to our graduation rate. But this is another celebration. We look at, if you look at overall, we have 7 high schools. There is a great celebration with Keystone High School, the junior senior high school. They had 8.5 point increase, which is awesome. It really should be celebrated and contributed to the work that the principal, the teachers, and the parents, and the guidance counselors, school counselors have provided in order to make certain that they make it a focus within their schools, and this data shows that they're doing great things internally. Also, we had great strides in Clay High School and Oakleaf as well. We had 4 schools that did show declines, but we know that we look at adjusted cohorts. It means that we've got to have better options and avenues for our students, and we will do that in the future starting immediately. But I want to point out that Fleming Island High School, if you look at their graduation rate, they're already at 96%, and that's very hard to really truly increase. And even though they decreased in the quantitative data, they've really done a significant job in their body of work at their schools. So why I am inspired with these results, and I'm confident that this will form the foundation that we can build upon, there's still work to do. And as you look at this work, there's areas of opportunity to grow, and I think some areas that we can really work with the board, with principals, with school counselors, with parents and students. These are some strategies that allow us to be successful in our practice. And I think by developing a district-level graduation tracker, I work with the Data and Assessment Division in IT, and we are working to have that data tracker, graduation tracker at our hands so we can see adjusted cohorts. We can see and do comparative analysis to where students are in reference to being college ready, whether they're looking at their GPAs, and really making sure they have the sufficient credits to be successful. We will also facilitate graduation check meetings with school staff to make sure that it is an area of focus so we can continue to seek to have 100% of our staff moving forward. And then in order to do that, we've got to really train our staff at our school levels and district levels to really understand what alternative programming and diploma options are and what exists within our district. And I think that's an area we can grow in the near future. And also, we need to leverage district staff to identify students at risk and follow up with supports. We need to figure out what supports and wraparound services need to happen in order to continue moving and having a staircase approach to success. But I'm excited about the successes and really thankful for all the tremendous work that our teachers have done, our administrators, our support staff, and more importantly, our students. And then also the support and the resources that our board have given this district in order to be successful. That's it. Thank you.
Very impressive. Thank you very much for the update. Our next agenda item is to approve for advertising the revisions to the School Board Policy 2.35, the anti-fraud policy. And Ms. Paiva was just speaking about it. It's the one that we wanted the changes for the whistleblower. I have to say I agree that it's not in the right format. I know we last month asked to have it brought back this month with some changes made to it. I have looked at Pinellas County, a couple of others. I think it would be foolish of us to advertise this in the state that it's in, because I think we probably will want to really research it more and bring it back in a better format. So before we have a motion or go any further with it, I would just like to strike it from the agenda. Any discussion on that? How does everybody feel? So
You said you'd looked at some other counties and
very different. Really, the language change that we did pretty much basically still says the same thing, and it's not what was wanted. So I think this is something that
is there any time limit? I mean,
no.
So it won't hurt to
No.
have it come back. Well,
It's
I
not
want it
time
to be
sensitive
right,
at all. So if
so
we're going to do it and
we want it to be
advertise
right,
it,
so.
put it in our policy, we really should get it right. So, Ms. Bush, we're just going to withdraw this. Mr. Sykes, can we do that, or do we actually have to vote on it? Do we have to vote to withdraw it, or vote to?
I think you need to vote on it to withdraw it,
Vote
do a motion to withdraw it.
Okay.
And then just so I can add the conversation we had before the start of the meeting, every school board in the state of Florida is covered by the whistleblower. The issue is the administrative resources with the Florida Commission on Human Relations, which no jurisdiction in the state of Florida, no school board, has the ability to take a state agency and make them take the case. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I think if you check around, everybody will tell you, because it's true, that all the employees of the school board, the Clay County School Board, have Whistleblower Protection Act. That covers them. The only thing that it doesn't give them is the Florida Commission on Human Relations access, which there's nothing that this board can do to impose that. But I would tell you that I would suggest that if you want to table it, you do a motion to table it at this time and bring it back later on and then vote on it.
Let's do that. So I'll entertain a motion to table it.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Bola to table this item and a second by Mrs. Studdard. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, our next item is our proposed allocation changes, item.
Madam Chair, if we could, we have to reverse the order of C8 and C2 because a job description is embedded within C8.
All right. So you want us to do C8 first before C2?
Correct.
All right, so our next item, excuse me a minute. Our next item will be item C8, the personnel consent agenda, and this item was pulled by Mrs. Bola. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
We have to have a motion and a second before we can have discussion.
A motion and a second for?
Just to get it out in the floor for
To be
discussion.
able to discuss it.
You have to have a motion and a second in order to discuss it.
What is the motion, to accept this, or?
Yes, to approve it. That was the motion made.
If I'm understanding correctly, this involves the issue regarding the hiring of Mr. Karakis, which under 112.3143 would require Ms. Karakis to
correct.
abstain from this, and she couldn't act as a chairman on it.
That's correct. And I have that written down here. Because this vote involves a family member, I will be abstaining from this vote. And I filled out Form 8A, the Commission on Ethics form. So I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
I'll second the motion for discussion.
For discussion.
All right, so I have a motion by Mrs. Studdard and a second.
Wait, hang on a second. I think that you have to pass the gavel on. You can't control the discussion
No.
on this because you're participating in the voting and you're ruling things in and out of order regarding the direct impact. I would just tell you the safer course for ethics is to avoid not only impropriety but the appearance of impropriety. If you choose to do it, that's your call, but I think that is not avoiding the appearance of impropriety.
Well, I'm still acting in the capacity as chair. I spoke with our executive director from Florida School Board Association and got the opinion on how this is handled. I do abstain from voting, but I continue in the role as chair. So I will be continuing in the role as chair. Thank you. So we have a motion by Mrs. Studdard, a second by Ms. Condon, and now we can open the floor to discussion.
I ask that this be pulled. First of all, I regret that I was not at the December 15th meeting. I was sick and would not have been a very happy person here for any of you. And at that time, I understand, and I also noticed that all of the job descriptions on these appointments, these 7 appointments, were made and were approved with information, obviously, from Mr. Davis. And one of the things that I want to say, first of all, is the fact that we are having workshops ahead of each of these meetings, and those are incredibly helpful. And they are open to the public. They are advertised. I talked to my mentor in the Clay County, or in the Florida School Board Association this week, and she said that that's basically status quo, that that's what's done normally throughout the state, and we finally sort of joined them. So thank you for that information that we get from those meetings. What we don't know at that time, however, is who we're hiring. And in going through all of the information that you've provided us, Mr. Davis, regarding the background of each of these individuals, I have found that there's loads of education, there is loads of experience in a variety of areas, and there's really a transition in many of these from one position to another. I'm the one who also requested that C2 be called because we're talking about replacing our deputy superintendent. And congratulations, by the way, Ms. Carnegie. I am incredibly happy for you. In looking at your plan, Mr. Davis, there have been lots of discussions. We know that over the next probably 6 months, we're going to be watching and our heads are going to be spinning and we're going to be trying to stay in touch with you and with you on this and understand what's going on. When I was a teacher, not so long ago, I would sit in the audience and I would be somewhat dismayed at the number of changes that would happen on the school board or in the county office. And a couple of things that I was concerned about through all of this, and I regret that I didn't have more time before I got sick to really study this and understand it a little bit more, was first of all, the number of positions. I'm looking at 7 positions here, and it's my understanding that we are, in essence, replacing approximately 5 people with those 7 positions. Furthermore, with the C2 allocation, we're talking about another position for coordinator of secondary education, correct. And ultimately, at some point in the future, I'm assuming there will be a coordinator for elementary education, with opportunities for people to apply for those positions. My concern before I became a board member, and those concerns came back to me. I was concerned that we're talking about a number of people. I'm concerned about the preparation of some of these people for the position. There is one person on here who I know personally, and it is Michael Kerkus, who does not have any education experience per se. And I just felt it necessary to bring this off the consent agenda onto the board, or to the board, to make certain that we have a discussion regarding this. I understand that once we have approved job positions, that you as the superintendent are allowed to fill those positions following the due course in hiring these people. And I'm not certain how I can say this without asking, where is the experience, I guess, that all of these positions bring to the floor. We got it in a little synopsis in an email. In talking to my mentor as well, she said, you know, whenever we hire anyone for the county office, I ask for a resume. And indeed, I'm sitting back thinking, you know, I think a resume would be appropriate for all of us, for all of the positions, so that we understand who we're going to be working with, what their background is, and why you feel that they are qualified for these positions. I guess that I'm going to leave that up to a question. Why do you feel that they're qualified for these positions?
Yeah, so Ms. Bola,
Before you speak,
yeah, I'm not sure.
would
if
you
any
mind if
others-
the rest of the
Sure,
board speaks?
absolutely.
And then
I think
you
it's
can
fair.
address them all at once.
I don't have any comment.
My comments would be just that the statutes are very clear. Statute 100142, 5 talks about personnel, and then it goes further into chapter 1012-22, public school personnel, clearly delineates the responsibilities of the school board and of the superintendent. And the superintendent, hold on just a second. We get this little book from FSBA that puts it in much better, much more legible.
Betsy, your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
People can't hear
It's
you.
much more legible for my eyes after 40. But it's this little, they give us this little book that's the statutory powers and duties of the school board. And so in it, it talks about this very thing. It doesn't list the numbers. That's why I wanted to read them to you out of my notebook. But it says the school board is responsible for establishing, designating positions to be filled, prescribing the qualifications for these positions, and adopting a salary schedule to establish the compensation of each authorized position. The superintendent statutorily is responsible for selecting and nominating qualified persons to fill these positions, submitting in writing to the school board the nomination of such person who is selected for the authorized position, and directing the work of all personnel. The school board must consider the superintendent's nomination of a candidate to fill a vacancy and either accept the nomination or reject the nomination for good cause. So that's what I understand the statutory powers to be. I chose to be respectful of our previous superintendent when he brought nominations to this board, and I fully intend to do the same with Mr. Davis, because I do believe those are his statutory powers within our state as a sworn constitutional officer, just the same as we are. With that said, I do have a concern about the one position. Not that I think there is anything improper that has gone on. I don't. Mr. Davis and I have had several conversations over the past several days. I have heard from countless constituents. I've been on the phone quite a bit and had emails and phone calls and text messages, and our constituents are concerned about the appearance of impropriety. That does worry me. So those are what my comments are. I think statutorily, Mr. Davis, you have the right to pick your team, and I think that is a privilege that is yours because the voters of Clay County selected you to lead the school system, and you have the right to pick who's on your team. And certainly the school board doesn't get into the day-to-day direction of the school system, so you can decide who best is fit to fill those. My concern is only that appearance of impropriety. The other concern that directly with that particular position is because it's a senior staff position that's going to be working on the strategic plan that works directly with the school board. It's not as clear, the delineation, as a position, say, if it were within one of the schools or a different level at the district office. So those are my concerns.
My turn?
Your turn.
You're right, Ms. Condon. Glad you looked up those statutes. Back many, many years ago, our school board attorney, Frank Scrooby, drilled it into my head over and over and over. One thing. This board approves allocations. That's our job. We make the spot. once the superintendent of schools names someone to that position, and I'm going to quote Mr. Scrooby on this, you would have to, the only way you can vote against it is you have to show good cause. And he said, board, unless you see them running naked down the street shooting people, you're not going to have good cause. So he's telling me that once we allocate a position, it is the superintendent of schools' job, responsibility, and authority to name someone to that position. Now, in the 24 years, have I always been thrilled and wanted to jump up and down when a superintendent in the past named people to positions? No, there were times that I thought they had lost their ever-living mind. Absolutely. Sometimes they worked out, sometimes they didn't. But really, the bottom line is it's not my decision. When Mr. Davis, I'm sure he called all the board members because he told me he was going to. When he called a few weeks ago and said that, he needed some allocations, we know what a tight budget we're in. We know we've got to be fiscally responsible, and we certainly want to save money if we can. But here's the way I feel about it, and I told him that, and I'm going to tell you what I said to him. I said, my job is to set policy and budget and to approve allocations. You're new in this job. You have promised the citizens of Clay County that you're going to get this school system going in an uphill direction. I want to give you the tools that you need to do what you say you're going to do. So if it means, doing some administrators on assignment for a little while, I know that the end of June, there will probably be some more changes coming. There's, we've got contracts that people have, as I've told you, there's not that many Siberias. We can't move them to Siberia right now. It's going to take time. This Rome wasn't built in a day. But I feel like in my heart that you have a plan, and I'm going to do my best to support you and try to give you some wiggle room to get the people you think are the proper people in the proper positions. Do I agree with all of them? It's not really up to me to agree. As I told you, Mr. Davis, I want to give you the tools to do your job and do it well. And then this board's going to hold you accountable. And the citizens of Clay County are going to hold you accountable. I'm expecting big things for our kids. I want to get back to focusing on education. I don't know a lot of these people that you brought in, but you talked to me and you said, I've got the faith and confidence in these people. This is what I need to make it work. One thing I would like to ask at some point, and I don't know if it's possible until June comes, but I would like to see an organization chart, because now I'm seeing, chiefs of this and coordinators. And I'm used to having the deputy, the assistant superintendents, and then I know I've got directors and supervisors, coordinators, and so forth. I'd like to know kind of what the organization chart is. I'm getting really confused. We've got chief of this, and I don't know who's higher than who and who's level with who, but I would like to get that cleared up eventually. Once you get your plan. But I feel like you've got a plan. Your mind is always just going. And I'm not sure exactly, but I'm willing to hang on for a while and see if you start producing. So that's what I'm expecting. Okay.
If I might add my 2 cents. Go ahead. I spoke with Mr. Davis earlier today, and we've talked previously. And I feel the same that you do. The statutes are very clear what our responsibilities are and what his are. And and like you said, unless there's just cause, there's no reason that we shouldn't approve who he recommends for hire. So, as you said, Betsy, I gave the previous superintendent the same courtesy that I plan to give to you, and it's to support you whenever I can and allow you to do your job, and I'll do mine. And we'll hold each other accountable for a great school system.
Amen.
Okay, well, thank you. I agree. I think that I initially wanted to start by making sure we clarify our roles, but I think Ms. Condon and Ms. Stutter did a fabulous job in doing that in the sense. And when Ms. Bola, to directly through the chair to answer your question, you know, we talk about policy, setting policy, governing, and establishing budget. That's the role of a school board. My job is to hire. My job is to vet resumes. And upon completion of hiring staff, then I will provide you and any board member the opportunity to meet and have conversations about the individuals who I bring on board. I have had multiple conversations with everybody on this board a number of times about my vision, my expectations, what I aspire to do, to be very transparent up front. There's no secrets in what I'm trying to accomplish. The current org chart didn't allow us to move a system in a staircase approach upward in order to elevate the experiences in our school system. And it's very evident within our data. The community has selected and elected me to drive this body of work. And coming in, I knew that it would take individuals who understood my speed, my accountability, my direction in order to ramp up and prepare for 17-18. That starts in January. It doesn't start halfway through the year in June 30th, July 1. It cannot. It doesn't discredit, and I want staff, and I've told staff in cabinet and senior staff members that the individuals don't have the ability and skill set to lead. But we can get work done quicker, faster with individuals who understand my vision, who understand what I'm trying to accomplish, and who have multiple experiences to lead in high-level positions. We asked why individuals. The new person directing professional development has over 40 years of experience. When Brian Dassler, who's a deputy commissioner, calls about leadership, they call this individual. We have individuals who's going to lead climate and culture, who's led it in the 20th largest school district in the nation, who's worked with the Florida DOE. We talk about communications. We have someone who's worked in reporting and worked for Channel 4 News, who understands the social media aspect, the marketing aspect, the be able to collect and celebrate and market this great school system. I can go on about the individuals who we've hired, about their ability and skill set to lead this work. The individual who is going to take on curriculum instruction has moved and led a region of 35,000 individuals and led 35 schools as a regional superintendent. She's been an assistant superintendent of instructional of IT in direction of transforming to one-to-one devices. So the individuals we're bringing in have rich knowledge, and they're coming in to build the capacity of leaders within this organization. We have great leaders in schools. It would be unprofessional of me to take a principal out of their school at mid-year. They should be with kids. They should have stability, and the community and kids deserve that. So my role is to bring in individuals who have the passion, the love, and the ability and skill set to build the capacity of leaders so that we have a true success and management opportunity within this organization. And we talk about the strategic planning, and the question is, do we have an individual that has the ability or skill set? We have an individual that sat in all seven. Let's talk about all seven. All seven of the individuals that I brought to this board for my recommendation, which is my right, sat through a committee of principals and senior staff, and they all were the front runners and recommendation from the committee. Addison Davis didn't bring this in isolation. So when the committee talked about who their selection, who they thought had the ability and skill set to be innovative, intellectual, had the energy, had the focus, had the ability to grow legs and build capacity of others and unite the thinking and the process in this organization, these are these individuals. And I will say you this, and I've openly said everybody on this board when I in phone call, in 30 days you don't think they're the right person, I'm giving you the opportunity to call me and have that conversation so that we can start talking about it. And that allows me to be in a 97-day window, and it also allows me to get to a point because I can non-reappoint anybody on June 30th. But I'm telling you this, I've hired at the 20th largest school district the most successful individuals in the organization, principal supervisors, principals, leads, directors, executive directors, teachers, support staff, deans of discipline. I know what first-round draft picks are. I know their makeups. I know what it takes. And I know that without a doubt, this team will help me build the capacity of individuals in this organization to move it, to get it to a top 10. And in 2 years, I would say in 2 years, let's talk about the progress that Ms. Studdard asked about. In 2 years, we'll look at that as a starting point and tell me whether or not I'm going to be an effect. I can tell you, I gain chips, we win. And in 4 years, I promise you, we'll be into a part where everyone in this room, everyone who's watching, everyone in the community can say, you know what, they have their final evaluation of Addison Davis when they go into that booth. And I promise you, my commitment, my passion, my leadership, I'm here to move and do what's best for this organization. I love Clay County. I love what we're trying to accomplish, and I stand by what my recommendations are.
Ms. Karakis, may I make one more comment? Yes. Mr. Davis, thank you. You've just responded to all of the constituents that have been calling me as well. And some of my primary constituents that are concerned. A lot of the teachers that I've spoken with will definitely be concerned about salaries. And I understand that you need to keep the best people, and in order to get the best people, you need to pay them. That is still going to be a concern of mine, because I see that particular position again in a salary range that is above our teachers. I don't feel that that is fair. For a teacher who's put 20 years of their life on the line for this county, who have gone out of their way to do above and beyond the work day. When I see the time, I have to laugh when people say, oh, well, teacher reporting times are from 8 until 2:32 or whatever it is. And I just have to laugh and say, when I came home at 6 o'clock, Wayne was thinking I was coming home early. And that is very typical of the teachers that are sitting in this audience. And I hope that as we go forward, and this basically answers my comment about C2 as well, so I won't have to pull that necessarily. But as we go forward, you've discussed your vision. You and I have had countless conversations. You know where I'm coming from. You know what my concerns are. And I voiced those concerns with you, and I've now voiced them for hopefully the people that are listening and watching today. Because that's something that we do need to take seriously, and I hope you do take it seriously. I know you value our teachers. I know you value our administrators, and I appreciate that greatly. And I'm willing to support you on this, and if I may make a motion to move to accept.
It's already been, we already have a motion.
Okay.
I have.
Mr. David, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Ms. You go.
I just want to say, your professionalism and lens through a teacher is valued. You bring a fresh perspective, and I get it. I understand it. I understand the optics of all of it. And I do believe, and I've said this to everyone in this room or everyone on this board, that the fact that I believe that our teachers are not compensated in a proactive, attractive manner. I'd say that the same way when you look at administrative positions, they're not comparative to surrounding counties either. So, I mean, and this year when I came in, to be very transparent, $1.2 million was on the board to give the teachers. $1.2 million. Through hard work and ability through the board to help us find additional funding and push in the fight that Ms. Lee put for her teachers, and the fight that I had to go through in a short period of time of 7 weeks to try to get this done, we found $800,000, and Dr. Legecko did a lot of legwork, and Mr. Brodsky and the board. I mean, we worked hard, and it's not over. We want to be very transparent about how we can compensate and incentivize support staff, teachers, administrators in totality. And it can't happen at once. But my vision is to make sure we incentivize everyone who works in this organization to show that they have a system of care within the system. So, thank you.
Ms. Condon, did you have something you'd like to say?
I wanted to clarify some of the comment that I made so that it is clear what the constituents' concerns were, the countless calls that I got. When I said the appearance of impropriety, what the voters have communicated to me. I heard from quite a few teachers and quite a few support staff. And I'll just address the elephant in the room, because they already said they're coming for me, so you're coming for me. But
it's probably me, sorry.
The elephant in the room is that we know this one individual has a reputation of not always positive interactions with school employees or non-school employees who don't agree with that person. And I've had those personal interactions, but I'm an elected official, and so that's what I took when I took the oath. The concern is that they could have those interactions with a senior staff member and feel stripped of any empowerment to go to HR to report anything because of his relationship with the superintendent and his relationship with the board chair. Mr. Davis and I have talked at length about those things. I also called Mr. Broski and talked to him and talked about this is a concern of our citizens of Clay County. Both have assured me, that's all I can go on today, that they will do everything they can to ensure that those things don't happen. Because what we cannot have happen is for any employee to feel like they're in a bad situation. And I bring this up because it was both the last two workshops and the last meeting that we talked about employees feeling intimidated. We talked about employees feeling like they didn't have a voice or they couldn't express their voice because their opinion wasn't the popular one or wasn't the one that they were expected to say. So I just wanted to clarify what our citizens have said and go forward with that. I hope that those of you who called me and those of you who emailed me that I represented your concerns well.
And through the chair, Ms. Condon, I will say that I respect that. I do not have the historical knowledge that you or anyone on this board or constituents have. So for me as superintendent, my job is to take the personal out of it. And in that room, we were interviewing to find someone that had the intellect, the innovation, the creative ability to be strategic by finding someone who can monitor programs, projects, initiatives, targets, by keeping hell of a dashboard, by developing business organization relationships. In this person, I have not had that interaction with. I will tell you and commit to you, if at any point in time, any staff, any board member, or any constituent is disrespected in any way, shape, or form by any of these 7 hires, I will address them professionally, and without a doubt, I will release them because they're a reflection of me and the reflection of you and the reflection of this county. I do not have friendships, relationships. I'm about business. I hate to say this not disrespectfully, I don't have a best friend at work. My kids are my best friends at schools. So regardless of what relationship this individual or these individuals may have, that is full annoying to me because it doesn't connect with my decision making, and I will release anyone who doesn't demonstrate the core values of this school district. I promise you that.
Any further discussion? All right, I think there's something that I'd like to say. There's been a lot of conversation here tonight, and I appreciate your frankness from all of you. But I think it's important, like you all said, that we give Superintendent Davis the tools that he needs to turn this district around and get us back in the top 10. So I appreciate us all considering. I have myself, I feel very confident that the people he's bringing in are really going to be the best people for these positions, and I look forward to them being part of the Clay County team. So if there's no further discussion, I had a motion by Mrs. Studdard, a second by Ms. Condon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, so our next item will be item C2, proposed allocation changes. Before we do that, we do have a card. Mr. David Coughlin. All right. Having no public comment on that, I'll now bring this back to the board, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval.
I second it.
I have a motion by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Bola. Any discussion?
I pulled this one again, and as I said previously, we've talked about your vision, Mr. Davis. I think that there was some question as to replacing Ms. Cornegie with 2 people. I personally know that it'll take more than 2 to replace her. I've worked with her for way too long. No, I'm kidding. But understanding that, and here again, going with the entire intent of being transparent here. People are concerned that here again, I'm just going to say it again, I'm repeating myself and I understand, but people are concerned about the numbers, okay? I mean, they're looking at, wait a second, we have 1 person here, we're adding 2 people here, we're doing this. And in being transparent, you have been transparent to us, you have been transparent to the public. You have said, we have plans, we need to make these changes, we are in the process of changing, we want to elevate Clay. And one of the reasons, or the primary reason I pulled that for discussion was to reiterate that. To reiterate it and say, there's a plan here. And at this point in time, we do see, and Ms. Studdard, you were asking about a chain of command sort of organizational chart. I'm thinking about all sorts of things I'd like to add to that. but within that organizational chart, it's difficult to be able to say, okay, we know that it's going to start here and it's going to go down this direction. And my gut reaction is to say we need patience at this point as well. Things are not going to happen overnight. They're going to take time. And with that patience and with our trust, quite literally, you and I have spoken and I've said, 6 months, but boy, after that, be careful. But this was probably my first bump. I mean, I sort of sat back and I thought, well, wait a minute, we're starting to add more and whatever. But I also understand the overall plan in this to make certain that we do move forward and that we do obviously elevate our county and our children. So thank you. And that's really all I wanted to say about it. Thank you.
Did you want to add?
Yeah, and through the chair, Ms. Bola absolutely understood. I didn't forecast, losing the deputy superintendent to be a superintendent, but I'm extremely excited for Mrs. Carnegie. What a great opportunity. I can work side by side as a colleague. We can work together. We got somewhat similar but not similar districts that we can go hand in hand. But this was an opportunity for me to create a position that allows us to start initially having principal supervisor role and start building the capacity of our leaders to be instructional leaders, talent managers, to look at trends and patterns of data to make informed decisions, to better help leaders be coaches to teachers, to better support them through professional learning opportunities, and to look at master schedules to maximize human capital with time, people, and money. And, I was going to bring this to 17, 18 and part of my phase 2 reorg, but now's the perfect time. And I do believe there's some candidates out there and internally and externally that if we don't provide it now, that we could potentially lose. So I appreciate the confidence and I wanted to wait till everything was approved to have staff on board to bring you the org chart. I think it was only proper for me to allow the board to take on the approval process before I gave you an org chart that was premature. So trust me, it's already kind of created, and you will see the vision, and I will bring it to the workshop next week, if it's fair to everyone here, so that you can start to have conversations. And let me tell the constituents, the board has been very, very awesome in supporting Addison Davis in this system. They've also been great with pushing me in a corner and making me defend my decisions of why, who, when, where. And and they have done exactly what they're supposed to do for this entire community. And they are holding me accountable and making me problem solve and decision make on the best interest of the kids. And I'm appreciative to that. So tonight is a reflection of not us being in a uneasy storming process, but a healthy storming process that allows us to grow, to better understand, to ask the right questions, and more importantly, to make decisions for kids and hold me accountable for leading this organization. So thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, I had a motion by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Bola. All those in favor say aye. 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 All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Mine is stuck.
Mine's stuck.
Clicking the vote now button, it's not going any further. Oh,
There we go.
Okay. All right, our next item on the agenda is item C6, our legislative priorities, and I have one card on this. Ms. Tracy Butler.
Good evening. I'm still here. Okay. Thank you for the legislative priorities. I will tell you that I hope that it is our plan to engage our stakeholders in building a coalition. Your teachers are your spokespeople. They're the ones that have the stories. And if anybody's ever dealt with legislators, you know that you have to have those stories when you go in there. So I'm hoping that you will engage your teachers, engage your support professionals, and let them be a part of this. We also, Florida Education Association is also working on their legislative priorities. That's where I was the last 2 days. So CESPA and CCA will also have theirs. So we want to, I'm hoping that we will go forward as a team with this, because we're going to need parents. This year, the Constitution Revision Committee is coming up. So there's a lot of things that are going to come up that are going to affect public schools. So I just want to make sure that you include your support professionals, include your teachers. They are your storytellers. So, oh, and Ms. Bola, to your point, I came by Grove Park Elementary tonight at 5:15, and there were 6 cars in the parking lot. So.
All right.
Ms. Butler, it's only the first day of school for this semester, too. Yeah.
That's okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion for item C6, our legislative priorities.
I'll move approval. Or I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Mrs. Bola, a second by Ms. Skillhausen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Let's just take a second while it comes up. All right, our next item, D2, Human Resources, Special Action, we have none. So item C8A, ratify the 2016-17 amendment to the 2015-17 master contract between the Clay County Education Association and the School Board of Clay County. Ms. Paiva, was there something you wanted to say? Okay.
Move approval.
No. We have a card. Charles Walsh. Mr. Charles Walsh would like to speak on this.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I actually thought that I would be talking earlier and not delaying and having this pulled, but I'm still going to go ahead. We've had conversations about climate and culture tonight, and I think it's vitally important that we understand that climate are short-term items, short-term actions, and those are the things that occur in any hierarchical organization. When you accumulate those up, you start to develop a culture, and that's when you start to have, organizational feelings. I'm in my 12th year now here in Clay County at Orange Park High School. I'm in my 38th year of teaching. The last 4 years were very, very difficult, extremely difficult. You're not going to change this ship mid-course and turn it around. It's going to take a lot of little climate actions as we go through. I think our school district can be agile enough to meet the needs of our students, our parents, our clients, so we don't need charter schools. I think we're capable. I don't want to hear that the state will overrule us. I want my school board to vote with the teachers and the clients of Clay County. I don't want to hear, make them overrule you. There's a climate changer. Annual contract people. We know there's not a whole lot of money, but we want to help these folks who got stuck in this situation. So, give them some protections. If you honestly believe they do not deserve those protections, you should be voting no. If you honestly believe it. But if you honestly believe they deserve it, after what, 5 years of outstanding evaluations, if they deserve some protection, you should vote yes. And maybe it doesn't go with the intent of the legislature. I want you to stand with us. Those are the things that are going to change the culture, is when we start taking small steps that improve the climate. So I urge you, and I was here to say, I stand for the new contract language, and I urge you to vote for the new contract language. That is one big, good step forward. So that's what I had to say. I'll be seeing you again.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Madam Chairman, may I ask Mr. Walsh a question?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh, what do you teach? What do you teach? I'm just curious. You said you were at Orange Park High. What subject?
Well, I have my doctorate in social science education, but last year I took over the dropout prevention program, so I don't know if I want to brag on that too much right now. But
Graduation rate's great.
But so, you know, I love working with those kids, and you know, we're trying to make some good progress there, and so we keep at it.
Thank you. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, my wife, you greeted her when we moved to the county, so.
Oh, I brought her a newcomer package. Ah, very good.
So upset.
She quit. Mrs. Studdard, Mr. Davis didn't get a newcomer packet. Do you might have a leftover one at home that you could bring to him?
Sorry.
14 years ago.
Sorry about that.
All right, so.
You probably were out working and weren't home.
Possible.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to ratify the 2016-17 amendments to the 2015-17 master contract between the Clay County Education Association and the School Board of Clay County.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mrs. Studdard, a second by Mrs. Bola. Any discussion? All right, I was writing, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Mrs. Piva, Ms. Piva, did you have something you'd like to say now? Well, I don't think we're signing it until your side has to ratify still. You forgot, this is only half of it.
When do they vote?
Actually, my apologies. I forgot that part, that the teachers actually have to vote for this.
When are they voting?
It's been so long since we've had a contract that we actually like.
Is that Miss Lee? Just kidding.
When do they vote?
Through the chair, if you would indulge me a little bit, because I am overly excited.
Could you tell us when the teachers will be voting?
Yes, I will tell you that. I've spent all day today actually visiting 22 schools, and I should finish up the last 20 tomorrow, and they will all have their ballots, and we're going to vote next Friday on the 13th, Friday the 13th. I'm not superstitious.
Oh, boy.
Not superstitious at all. In fact, my number, I played Division I basketball, and I don't know if you didn't know that, but my number was 13 at Northeastern University, so it still sits there today. I want to take this opportunity. I didn't realize it was Dr. Walsh that was holding this up, or I would have done something about him, okay? Truly appreciate Dr. Walsh. It's the caliber of the type of teachers we have. I mean, he's a character. He sits on our PDAP committee. I think he actually is the chair of our PDAP committee, which is our Professional Development Advisory Council. But I wanted to take this time to thank, in a very short time, Mr. Davis working so hard to find that extra $800,000, because it was $1.2 million on the table. And of course, you know, we cried and flopped like a fish a little bit, and he did it, and he did it to give us a reasonable salary increase. And I do thank you, and I thank Dr. Legecko for also working to find the funds. It is a moral victory for us. It is something we truly wanted, AC language. You know, we went to impasse to push the button last year on AC language. We cared about it. We had a mandate from my teachers. They gave me a mandate. I couldn't vary from it. I was that serious that AC language along with the raise, and it was our PSC people who cared more about the AC language than they cared about money. Again, the quality of teachers in Clay County. I want to also break that down a little bit, if I may. Indulge me for a second so you actually know what that means. We have what's pay for performance now because the state legislators thinks it sounds good. We're real good at those little things, you know, pay for performance, yeah, that does it. What it means is AC teachers, that means teachers are annual contract teachers. The newest teachers in our county must be paid more than veteran teachers. Must be paid more than veteran teachers, no matter what. We had a wonderful pay performance committee led by Miss. I'm going to do a doctor just for a second, Ms. Cornegay, and our people and the district's people, and we came up with a formula that was the least abusive to our teachers of our veteran teachers, and also our new teachers. So the HE, the highly effective AC teachers, must receive the most pay by law. PSC and CC teachers the formula works out that they are going to get, the AC highly effective is going to get $700. And unfortunately, one of my teachers wrote, "Is that a month?" I said, "No, that's not a month. That's like the year." And the PSC teachers, they got overly excited then. No. The PSC teachers will get $694. And by law, AC effective teachers must be 75% of the AC highly effective teachers. Somewhere in there, bell should be going on of how unfair that is. It sounds good. It's really not good. Because, so the effective AC teachers will get $522. Here's the problem. We want to work as a team, and we want to collaborate, and we want to push ourselves, and we want to be the best they can. Why am I going to push myself and share with you when you're going to make more money than me? So on one hand, we want teachers to collaborate, and the other hand, you want teachers to be in competition for some, like they're going to be better by it. We want everybody to be better. And that's what we want to do, and that's what teachers do. Teachers want their whole class to be better. Well, they want their colleagues to be better also. They want their administrators to be better. Now, I will point out, which I didn't point out, which I pointed out with Mr. Davis yesterday, is not only are teachers to be paid by pay for performance, but so are your administrators. So you can't give across the board school-based administrators, and if you look at your audit, number one, you were dinged for it. Not only did you not have a pay for performance plan for your teachers, we do now because you just passed the contract, but you don't have a pay for performance plan for your local school-based administrators, and you must. It's the second year you've been binged for it on your audit. So you have to adjust that. So you can't sit there and go, I'm going to give a 1% raise to your administrators. You now put your administrators, not you, the legislators, in competition with every other administrator too while they're at it. None of that works for the benefit. And those are the things that my local elected officials must help us with, because we can't do it. That's the law. You have to have the conversation, because the people have to understand none of that's good for the education of children. We have to all work together for the education of children. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Our teachers are extremely excited about this contract. I am absolutely sure they're going to pass it, ratify it. I'm ready to sign, Dave. Just give it to me. All right, ratify it next week, and we'll work very, very hard to make you proud for us. Thank you.
Ms. Karakas.
I think the public deserves to know that while we approved raises for teachers and support staff, we challenged Mr. Davis and Dr. Legutko that we will end our year at our 3% fund balance. So I don't want anyone to think that we were spending money that we did not have the statutory ability to spend. I think it's important to say that we were fiscally responsible in this vote.
Thank you for bringing that up. Our next item on the agenda is item C14, the Intel Math Consultant Agreement. That item was pulled by Ms. Spola. I'll entertain a motion.
You're on a roll tonight. So moved. Second.
All right, let's have some discussion.
That's what I get for missing a
excuse me,
meeting.
no,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I forgot, I've got cards.
Oh.
We have 5 cards on this item. Our first one is Rosa Newland. I apologize.
Start by saying my name is Rosa Newland. My address is on file. I am a district employee, but most of all, I love math. I'm currently in my 2nd year as math coach at Clay Hill Elementary. I've taught 5th and 6th grade for a combination of 11 years on top of that. I believe I have attended every math training that's been available in the county, which mostly were how to incorporate games in math classes. And those that were about games were not very beneficial because I either knew what they were talking about or it just didn't apply to me and my kids at the time. Most professional development opportunities for teachers in this county are geared toward how to become a better reading teacher with very few and far between professional developments on how to become a better math teacher. So when Intel training became available, I researched it. Is it worth my time? Is it something that I want to go to? Yes. I looked at how teachers' scores had improved after taking the class and decided I would love to take this, hoping it would give me new strategies and background information on how to improve my teaching. While a classroom teacher, I was always aware of my personal FCAT or FSA scores. Have to be. Overall, my student scores were between 60 and 75% with a level 3 or above every year. Sounds great. However, I was not as successful as making my students have growth. On average, I'm sad to say, my kids lost 7%. Within 2 years of completing Intel training, however, my students passing FSA with a 3 or better was still between 60 and 75%. However, my students were now gaining approximately 7 points, and as my last FSA, 87% of my children were proficient. I truly believe that the difference in Intel and not having Intel made that proficiency number possible. Sorry. Intel gave me the knowledge and the background to connect concepts from kindergarten through 8th grade and how to correctly fill in gaps so my students could make the progressions that I needed them to make and help them understand concepts. Since becoming a math coach, I've had the privilege to assist kindergarten through 6th grade classes. Without the knowledge I gained learning in Math Intel, I do not believe my assistance would have been benefited to the students or the teachers in kindergarten through 4th grade because I only had 5th and 6th grade concepts. Intel training, however, helped me understand the importance of so many standards that kindergarten through 6th grade teachers that I believe I am now an asset. Because of these understandings, I've been able to assist teachers in the why we do certain math practices, how the answer to a problem is gotten when they just know the procedures. I've been able to model correct vocabulary within a classroom when a teacher is uncertain what to use. I've been able to explain why students might be making their mistakes, and better yet, ideas on how to correct those mistakes. I've been able to show teachers what they are teaching, how it will be used in upper grades, and how it will be built upon, as well as showing teachers that their students are struggling because this is the first time they've seen the concept. I credit Intel training with a greater depth of math knowledge and the ability to help others understand math better. We are so worried about having our students reading on grade level, which I really do believe is extremely important, that helping our students become proficient in math gets left behind. Teachers have the ability to take numerous professional developments to become better reading teachers, and it is considered acceptable to ask for help to teach reading or writing. However, in my experience, when it comes to becoming a better math teacher, our options and opportunities are limited. We get to watch other teachers teach math and glean strategies from them. Or we get to have one of our knowledgeable curriculum specialists come out and give us one-on-one attention and help. However, there is no consistent structured math professional development that teachers from across our county can attend and have the opportunity to collaborate with peers of multiple grade levels in one room. I believe this is where Intel training fits in. If Intel training is taken away, what large-scale systematic training course will we have available to us to ensure consistent math instruction across the county? I'm sorry I went over time, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Newell. Our next speaker is Gina Roundtree.
Good evening. My name is Gina Roundtree. My address is on file. I'm a third grade teacher at Oakleaf Village Elementary. I was fortunate to experience Intel Math this summer, and I want to thank you for that opportunity. It was amazing. As teachers, I think by nature, we're always learning, we're always growing. But hands down, in my many years, this was the best training I have ever gone through. I've never worked harder in the 2 weeks I was there, but I learned so much that I can pass on to my students. Not only did Intel deepen my knowledge of the math concepts from kindergarten through 8th grade in 2 weeks, it allowed me a deeper understanding into my students, why they struggle, how they feel when they struggle, because believe me, in those 2 weeks, we struggled. And that was invaluable. Intel emphasized the importance of vertical planning and collaboration among the grade levels. So I have this clear picture of where my third graders came from and where they're going. So this allows me to better understand their misconceptions, to recognize where their gaps are, and to help teach them strategies to overcome these obstacles. The other thing that was very interesting and eye-opening for me through Intel was the use of shared vocabulary. And there was a big focus on this and using the correct vocabulary. And I start to imagine that if all of these teachers are using the same shared vocabulary, imagine how much our students would benefit from that year from year. It would, I think, be a tremendous asset to them. One more side benefit to this training was the collaboration with my colleagues, not just from other schools, because we go to lunch or just working in small group and helping each other, and you learn what other teachers are doing in other schools, but with teachers from different grade levels. And to see that what the first and second grade teachers are doing, what the 7th and 8th grade teachers are doing, and we're all working together at a table. I can honestly say that I am a better math teacher today than I was last year, thanks to this program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Roundtree. Our next speaker is Danielle Berry.
Hi, my name is Danielle Berry. I am a third grade teacher at Oakleaf Village Elementary. My address is on file. I want to start by saying being in Intel Math was an honor and a privilege for me. Billy and Elizabeth have an overcoming sense of hospitality. They made me feel comfortable. They allowed me to appreciate the struggle that my students face on a daily basis. If you want to witness a struggle, I don't know if any of you have, come sit the first day of Intel Math. They hand us a pre-test along with all these materials, and I thought it was a foreign language on the paper. Math is my favorite subject. I thought I'm great at this. I can do this. I sat there and I felt the struggle. It was in that moment that I stepped back and I realized my kids face this struggle almost daily. I teach inclusion math. I hand a paper to one of my students and they give me that blank look, and I look at them like, I just taught you this, what are you doing? I became them. Elizabeth and Billy gave me that sense. I am forever grateful for them. I know that Ms. Newland and Ms. Roundtree touched base on vertical alignment, but I would like to say that as much as teachers want to say that we know where our kids come from and we know where they're supposed to be heading, we don't have that opportunity to sit beside the second grade teacher and the fourth grade teacher and share where our kids are going and where they're from. We don't have that opportunity. This gave me that opportunity. I sat next to a kindergarten teacher with every new concept who said, I can't do this. At the end of the day, she was like, oh, I did this. I was able to talk with them. They were able to share ideas with me. And without this opportunity, I wouldn't have had that chance. Since this Intel Math has ended, I have shared numerous emails with other teachers that I was in this cohort with. I sat in this very room. I shared my email with them, and we share on the Google Drive what we have taken from this. We share our different teaching styles. We share everything that we gained from this. It saddened me today to hear that this could be taken away for future teachers. I think that if we are smarter teachers, our students are smarter learners. I became so much more confident in my content and my criteria and my curriculum, and to take this from other teachers in the future would be a deficit for our county, I believe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Schultz.
What's her last name?
Hi, good evening. My name is Elizabeth Shiles. It's okay, nobody pronounces it right. And I have been a Clay County teacher for 11 years, 19 total, 5.5 in Duval, and formerly Oakleaf Junior High with a 100% passing rate for algebra EOC. Okay.
Whoa.
So when it came time to move on, the STEM department was lucky to have a curriculum specialist position for math and computer science, and gladly took it. As I get into the math and computer science with them, their Intel position opens for instructors. It is a rigorous process to apply, and literally took me proving my high school math, college math. I had to provide 3 years of highly effective teaching practices, student scores. So luckily, I am an Intel-trained consultant, and because of the rigorous application process, there's only 42 nationwide. And I am the only trainer who has K-8 experience and knows the Florida standards. So I'm happy to do this for Clay County. The ultimate wisdom of my supervisor, Kathy Schofield, she wrote the Intel program into the DODEA grants. So the materials, the supplies, the teacher stipends, because they get a teacher stipend for doing this program, for doing the homework and the readings that are 18 pages and coming back the next day, is all paid out of grant money. The substitutes are paid out of grant money. My salary normally is paid out of grant money. Under the direction of PD, they ask that we only pull the teachers out for 5 days. Okay, that's great. So we started cohort 5 Tuesday and Wednesday. I was here Monday setting up a classroom. So that was that one car in the parking lot on Monday. But we do this for our students and for our children. Absolutely. The 3 days during spring break, we have teachers who give up their spring break for this. I give up my spring break for the students of Clay County. I have one son who graduated, and I have another one that's going to. My heart is here. I gave up a job in another county to be paid the full rate that Intel says I'm supposed to be paid as a national trainer for this. Gave it up, said no, my heart's here, I'm staying here. So I don't ask for the full rate, for the consultant rate, I'm asking for the discounted fee. And because I do this as part of my job, that is a saving of over 367% on the first 7 days. That's a huge savings for our grants. So my question and kind of thought to kind of leave you with is, We pay other consultants in upwards of $1,800 to do 6 hours worth of training and have no student data. I do this every day, and I dream in spreadsheets. 7,000 lines of a spreadsheet tracking student data from every teacher who's ever attended. I'm not even asking for half. So please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shilas. Our last card is Colin Roberts.
Hello, my name is Colin Roberts, and my address is on file as well. And I am here as a proponent of Intel Math. I teach Algebra 2 at Clay High School. Before that, I taught at Oakleaf Junior High School. And it was at that time that I took the Intel training. I'm going to repeat probably some of the things you've already heard. And I could not speak highly enough of it, and I'm going to tell you about a training I had actually this summer as well toward the end. There are multiple things that really Intel brings out or educates us about. One of the unique things is that it is designed to deepen teacher knowledge of mathematics. That's hard to find training for. You know, usually you go to a training, classroom management, whatever the issues are, but to deepen my knowledge of math, there aren't that many out there. Now, the benefit of that is I love to teach, almost as much as I love to learn. But if I know it, then I can teach it. So the depth of my understanding of mathematics is of the utmost importance. The opportunity to go to Intel, I mean, I feel really blessed that I was able to do that. I find that the collaborative vertical integration with math teachers is something that just doesn't happen. I don't have the opportunity to get with teachers that teach kindergarten or first grade or second grade and understand what they're really teaching. So as a junior high teacher, when they got to me in, say, algebra or pre-algebra, I had a concept and an idea of what they learned to get to me, or what they should have learned to get to me. So I can better understand that. One of the other things that where it was helpful is that we have the opportunity to actually dissect student work. We get student examples, and not all of the examples are correct, so we have to figure out, okay, well, what was this child thinking? And understanding the thinking of students is of utmost importance. So I am a proponent. This past summer, I went to the National Math and Science Institute training. And what was interesting was the Intel training takes us from kindergarten up to algebra, and then in that training we go from algebra to calculus. So to get that wide range of training was very beneficial for me. So I'm a big proponent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. All right, that's our last card. We had a motion by Ms. Bola, a second by Ms. Studdard. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. I'm the one who pulled this, and I have a question to the board. When you pull an item, I'm concerned because I heard from a number of teachers, and let me tell you, I'm also an Intel Math teacher. I went through, I think, the very first cohort here in Clay County and in this room, and I agree 100% with all of you. That first day, you feel like an absolute idiot because I teach I taught fifth grade math for 17 years. Sixth grade math for 1 year, but they kept me in fifth. And it is a depth of knowledge. But my question to the board is, can you pull an item to discuss it without it having a negative connotation? And this is where I'm coming from, because I'm hearing you say, don't not approve this, or please approve this, don't drop it. And that was not the intent. So I apologize for those of you who have thought about this, I'm certain for a number of days, couple of days at least, and I apologize to each of you because that was not the intent when I pulled this item.
Did you pull it just because you wanted to say how wonderful it was?
Well, actually, I pulled it because I truly believe that there's additional training and I have questions about what we need to do as a county in math. And this provided me the opportunity, I thought, to ask those questions. Does that make sense? The Intel Math program, and here again, it's paid by the Department of Defense grants that we receive. When I first left college admissions and went into the 5th grade curriculum, there was a learning curve there in math that I think if the 5 of us sat down, and we'd even include Mr. Davis, and I started talking about range, median, mode, averages, exponential notation, and things of that nature, you'd look at me and go, yeah, I remember having that, but I don't really recall. And that's the learning curve that I had going into literally 5th grade. The Intel Math program, the first year, maybe a little bit of a bumpy start, I think, but yes, you walk away with it. This is truly a math training that is, I believe, the only math training that's available in the county. My concern is that when I first started running for the office of school board member, I met with the faculty at St. John's River State College. And their concern was that our students coming out of the high school are not necessarily successful in their math program. And my question, and perhaps I need to direct this via the chairman to Mr. Davis, but there's got to be at some point we need to come into a dialogue with St. John's River State College and talk to them about our students and how they are prepared for math. We can, end of course exams for Algebra 1, et cetera, but when they're adding courses that families have to pay for in remedial math, because many of our students are not able to handle the college algebra course, the basic first college algebra course that they're taking there. To me, that says something to our preparation for them from junior high and beyond. Mr. Davis is very good about following up on our meetings. If there's a question that's brought up at a board meeting, within the week, we have some documentation that backs it up. And he sent out, after one of our meetings, the cohorts and how teachers did on the math tests. And I'll just pick cohort 4, just because that's the one that I have here. And the pretest teachers scored 51.23%, and if I use the appropriate math terminology, it would probably be 51 and 2300ths on that score. In the post-test, it was 76.96. So obviously, there was an increase. But here again, you're talking about taking teachers out of a classroom where they teach the curriculum year after year after year. This is not something that we can require our teachers to do. It's something that's available to them. I understand that the stipend is very, very healthy as well. And I would encourage us to approve this, obviously. But my question then is, my request, I guess, is my concern, is that we continue that articulation agreement between grade levels. We've got it going now from K through 8. We've got it going, and through each of those levels, teachers understanding what the other standards are within their areas, within math, for instance, within science, within reading as well. But I think it's a much more linear sort of thing, a much more, for want of a better word, a foundation sort of activity in math. And it goes literally from kindergarten up. But once we get to that junior high, high school level, where are we failing that our students aren't continuing that growth and able to get into the college courses that they need to get into? That would be part of their curriculum, not the additional courses that they need to take in remediation. That's why I pulled this. I did not intend for anyone to be upset. I apologize. As a graduate, I feel of the Intel Math program, there are a couple of games that I mean, I know gaming, I never had time to play them because we were always doing the standards-based education, but there were a lot of ideas, and the whole focus of the student and being able to look at and understand that deer in the headlights look that the child gives you when you hand out that paper and you think, wait, I just talked about this, but they're looking at you like, I don't even understand the first number. I understand that feeling, and it did give breadth to that, it gave depth to that. So I would encourage us to approve it. But also, I have questions about the upper echelon math and where that's going into the university and college settings.
I'm sure Mrs. Bola will give you a phone call.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Mr. Davis will be getting some information to us very
I'm
soon.
ready. That's right.
Don't you wish I had been at the last meeting? Then we could have gotten through this a lot faster.
And something she said, we do appreciate the follow-up
Yeah.
after each meeting, so
That's
thank
right.
you for that.
He's listening.
He is. I think he's afraid of us.
I've learned, excuse me, through the chair, I learned never to mess with 5 young women. I'll be in seriously trouble.
All right, so we have a motion by Mrs. Bola, second by Mrs. Studdard. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Our next item, schedule citizens' request. We have none. School board remarks. Before we do that, one of the items in our consent agenda was a proclamation for National School Counseling Week. And I should have read this before we approved it, and I'm going to read the proclamation now. It's Proclamation 17-09, National School Counseling Week. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential. And whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents, as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the education, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the School Board of Clay County does hereby proclaim February 6th through February 10th, 2017 as National School Counseling Week, duly adopted and approved by the School Board of Clay County, Florida, this 5th day of January 2017. Thank you. All right, the last and final thing are board member comments. Ms. Gilhousen, would you like to start?
I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas and or whatever holiday you celebrated. And I'm looking forward to the new year. We have several events coming up this month to look forward to, from spelling bees to speech contests to concerts and all kinds of fun things. So it'll be a month of watching our students perform, so it'll be a lot of fun. I don't have any official requests at this time, and I'll pass it on to Ms. Bola.
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear.
She just gave me a look.
Just a couple
Did
of
she
things.
get a list out?
I've got 3 or 4 lists, Carol. I'm sorry, Mrs. Studdard. First of all, I'm sorry that Ms. Roach left earlier, and I probably should have said this earlier, but Ms. Roach and Mr. Brown and Ms. Voitko were awesome. They invited me over to Plantation Oaks shortly after our first board meeting, I believe, and had a wonderful tour of their facility, had a great opportunity to talk with them. Yesterday, I also spoke with John Hall, who is the band director at Oakleaf High School. And he was featured, or his product was featured in one of our school newspapers. But the band initiative, Box 5 Coffee, is something that he is trying to get off the ground. And it is truly an interesting concept. It is innovative. It is new. It is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Oakleaf High School band, but they've had to add another Band director, they have something like 195 students that march and are in their band. It is huge. And this is an innovative approach to earning money for their instruments, for their uniforms, etc. And I wanted to definitely say a shout out for him and thank him for taking the time to speak with me as well. You all spoke probably about the Florida School Board Association workshop that we had shortly after Thanksgiving. And as a new member of the school board, I went and thought, well, you know, I'm sure we always know everything that you need to know. And I wrote some notes while I was there, and I'm reading these notes and thinking, boy, did I not know a lot.
You didn't know what you didn't know.
Oh, it's amazing. As a new school board member attending a conference, it helped me not only to understand my job as a school board member, but also to understand the legal ramifications and the responsibility of working on a team. The takeaways from this conference, first and foremost, meeting other school board members. You just heard from 4 or 5 teachers about what it's like to collaborate with other teachers. And we all know that that collaboration is invaluable. And no matter what the legislature tells us, we will continuously help each other to improve. We would all like to continuously help each other to improve, but unfortunately, once this meeting is over, anything that could come before this board cannot be discussed. And there have been many times when I've sat back and I thought, oh, I want to call so-and-so and ask them the question. And fortunately, I made friends. I made friends in districts that surround us, Duval County and Baker and St. John's and all around, I mean, the whole Northeast corridor. But then they also gave me a mentor who I mentioned earlier. And that is invaluable. That is an opportunity for me to reach out to somebody who's in the same experience, just in a different location. So that was a huge takeaway for me. I have others with whom I may ask questions and discuss ideas, and one of the quotes from that takeaway was, "Good is not good enough if we can be better." The big idea, and it was interesting, you sort of sat back and I thought, I'm sitting in this room with about 100 new board members from throughout the state who had all been elected. And I think all of us were thinking the exact same thing. You know, what they're going to tell us, some of the comments that they made were like no-brainers, right? And the comment that really came home a lot and was probably said 10 times that day for the new school board members was, if your school board can communicate with the superintendent and you can collaborate while we're up here, we will be successful. We will have a successful county. We will be successful for our children. And I truly feel that up to this, I mean, this is only my second meeting officially, but I feel that success already. And I feel very good and very open about how we are collaborating and how we are communicating. And it's difficult. It's not easy to sit up here and say that sometimes we don't agree with things, but we still collaborate and we still move on and work together and discuss it. My only other thing, and I'm going to go into another training in February, looking forward to that. I am always going to be a teacher. I think that we are constantly being trained, we are constantly training ourselves, and we're going after as much training as we can. You also provided, Mr. Davis, monthly energy costs and how we've been saving all sorts of money, and I want to continue at some point in the future to talk about our energy usage, our energy savings, the company that we're using, and make certain that we're looking at this data with the appropriate eyes, with the appropriate data, with the appropriate eyes so that we're not assuming savings that may not have necessarily been appropriated from synergistics. And if there's some way that, yes, we can still do savings and meet the needs of our custodial staff as they clean our schools, I would greatly appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Well, just to piggyback on that, Ms. Kim Stacy contacted me, and with the new change in meeting time, she couldn't be here tonight, but she asked if I would please find out kind of where we were with the custodials
staff and the AC and heat issues, and I couldn't exactly remember if that's on the agenda for next week's workshop. I know there's a lot of things on that agenda, so if this is not the appropriate time to ask the question, then you can tell me if it's not. But Miss Stacy wanted to know where that was. She said she was going to watch from home when she got home.
Yeah, Miss Stacy, and I looked for her right before the meeting. I was like, somebody please introduce Miss Stacy to me. And it's like, she couldn't come tonight. Yeah, so I looked for her, and I've asked many people in the crowd to show her. She works at Dr. Inlet, so I sent an analysis to each of you, I believe it was last night. And I had some concerns of 6 schools. I have another follow-up that I'm going to send tonight, early this morning, to get to you, so you'll be able to see how we're going to problem solve. But from her side, I want to speak to her individually because I have some thoughts about her school, and maybe looking at the rotational schedule that she implements to see if there's a better way that we can make sure she's in the best working conditions for her school. But yes, Miss Stacy, if you're watching, please call me or email me and give me your cell phone so I can call you, and so I can talk to it and maybe come visit you at your school.
My next two are formatting questions. That one is that we have, with our new agenda format, we have dropped off board attorney comments. And I know that usually Mr. Sykes doesn't always have something for us, but it's nice to have that. So I don't know if we did that intentionally, but it's nice to be able to hear from our board attorney. And the other, I heard from a number of constituents about backup data, that we are providing the agendas 7 days in advance. And I know this month was a little bit of an anomaly because of the holidays, and we did provide some paid time off for our 12-month employees around the holidays. But our constituents are watching. They want to be able to see that backup data so they can ask the right questions. So those were just 2 comments just that we can, I guess, be on guard about, or I asked I believe it was at the last workshop meeting, I asked about the Santa Fe College dual enrollment, and Mr. Davis provided an update on that. And the reason that I asked that question is because I had phone calls from 2 parents in the Keystone Heights area whose children had been identified as needing an extra challenge that couldn't be provided in the regular school setting. And we as a district, the only thing we had to offer them is the pilot program at Orange Park High School this year, where you can start the dual enrollment. It's that pilot, that I believe Ms. Cornegay or the instructional staff, Mr. Umbaugh's staff, presented to us, months ago. But at any rate, those 2 parents were offered that program because that's all we had to offer them as a district. To provide them the same free and public education as every other student in our district. And the frustration for those parents is that from Keystone Heights High School to Orange Park High School, in traffic on Blanding, if you hit every light, is about 50 minutes. And their child would have to change schools and leave their friends, all to get an extra challenge. And so what Mr. Davis found out was pretty disturbing, and that's that Santa Fe College has chosen not to serve the needs of any of our students below 11th grade because they don't consider Clay County one of their service areas. I happen to personally know the family that endowed the Watson Center in Keystone Heights. That's the Santa Fe College campus. Mr. and Mrs. Watson went to my church. They were friends with my grandmother years and years and years ago. And they gave that money so that the citizens of Keystone Heights could be served and not have to leave the community, and it didn't matter about county lines. And if you're a Bradford County student, you're not coming to Keystone, to the Watson Center for your dual enrollment. You are, or your other classes, you're going to the Stark campus. And so I just wanted to say all that to say, y'all know how I am, a dog with a bone. So I have sent an email to the contact who runs the Watson Center in Keystone Heights to further inquire about why they are not willing to provide opportunities for Clay County, all Clay County students. And so I'll keep you updated on where I stand, and if you get a little red flag that I'm getting a little too aggressive, well, that's just because I'm fighting for our students. But that's why I asked the question, and it's not just, it's just an arbitrary question, but I think our students deserve it. I agree. And then my final thing, if you'll indulge me, is
I don't know if this is Ms. Cornegay's last board meeting, but I kind of got the inkling that it is. And I will just tell you that when I decided to run for school board, I didn't know Ms. Cornegay. We live in the same town, but I didn't know her. And I was at my son's baseball practice at the high school baseball field in probably shorts and a t-shirt and no makeup and my hair thrown up in a ponytail and just hanging out at baseball practice as a mom. And out comes Miss Cornegay in her suit and heels and walks up and says, "Are you Betsy Condon?" And it was the kind of thing where you got to say, well, who's asking? And she said, "Are you the person who's decided to run for school board?" And I said, "Yes." And she gave me as much of an interview as anyone in that election process. She wanted to know everything about what I stood for, why I was running, what my education background was, where my kids went to school, just everything that you could think of. And since then, she and I have become friends, and I value her knowledge. I think that Clay County has a big hole that's coming, and I know that Mr. Davis has a great staff to help fill that hole, but I will truly miss being able to pick up the phone and ask Ms. Cornegay a question. She is always willing to call a parent. She has called parents for me at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. She has called them on the weekends, helped me answer questions when I didn't have the right answer, or if I didn't have the words, or if I was asking for something that wasn't appropriate to ask for from a parent. She just was always willing to listen and advise, and I will truly miss that knowledge. I know that I can always call Mr. Davis and his staff, but and I look forward to building those relationships, but I wish you the very best, and Lake County could not be more fortunate to have you at their helm, and I just know you're going to do great things, and it'll be great to see you at FSBA and things, but thank you for your service in Clay County for all these years, from way back to now, and you truly will be missed.
You're up.
Boy, oh boy. You know, I was just sitting here thinking while listening to the board members talk, it's been a long time since I've enjoyed board meetings, and I've enjoyed tonight. You know, it's good to have this discussion. Ms. Bola, I can see you're going to unseat Ms. Condon on the talking, I tell you. You have been dethroned here. Oh boy, but it's interesting.
I think they're a tie right now.
No, it's interesting because you're coming from a teacher's perspective, and when Ms. Graham was on the board, we had a teacher's perspective, and it's good. It's good for us to have that. And I was thinking about the makeup of the board. It's a good mix. We've got young mother, we've got grandmother, you know, we've got y'all in between. We've got some that were born the year I graduated from high school. Thank you very much.
We won't name who.
Yeah. I'll never get over that. But I think the public senses what's going on. And I am beyond thrilled. I think we didn't really know each other, all of us. And I think we're learning how each other thinks, and we've learned to respect each other. We may not always agree on a vote, but I guarantee you one thing, I don't think anybody will leave here. If someone is voting from their heart and what they think is right, I don't think there's anybody here who will carry hard feelings out of this room. As long as you're voting the way that you feel is right, and I think we can respect that there's going to be a difference of opinion. Heck, even in marriages, sometimes you disagree with your husband, believe it or not. I can say that after 52 years of marriage. Thank you. It feels good, and I think the public is feeling it, and I think that Mr. Davis feels a little bit of pressure from us because he knows he doesn't want to make us mad, and he's going to produce, and if he doesn't, there's going to be hell to pay. I mean it. We're expecting big things in this county. On a personal note, I just want to say I have spent the day in the emergency room with my daughter. She has broke her humerus today. It's not been one of my best nights, so I'm kind of off my game tonight. But I'm not off my game enough that I'm not going to, I've got to say something because there's a certain teacher that's expecting me to say this. Monday night, I'm going to be in Tampa, Florida. And I want to say this to all of y'all. Roll Tide.
Was there anything else?
Oh, and I need to say I won't be at the Teacher of the Year visits on Tuesday. I got a ticket to go to the game.
Trying to find a replacement.
She's got her
Find me a
priorities.
sub. I won't be here Tuesday morning. I'm sorry.
I thought Clemson was playing that night.
Oh, they're going to show up. There'll be groping.
I'm not going to get in the middle.
Go there.
Couldn't resist but started. I apologize.
All right.
Let me say, Ms. Cornegay, good luck. We'll see you at the conferences in Tampa, okay?
Please say hi.
All right. I have a much shorter list than they did. I've spent the last couple of days going over the Teacher of the Year applications, and unlike Ms. Paiva, I didn't start early enough. And they are amazing. And for anybody who doesn't know, each school chooses somebody to be their Teacher of the Year, and then the county chooses somebody to represent the county. So we have 41 applications, and they are truly the best of the best. And once again, I'm just blown away by these fabulous people, and it's some of them are inclusion teachers, some are AP teachers, some are guidance counselors. It's just a variety, and I'm taking advantage of the extension until Monday because I will be reading them all weekend. So anyway, I'm just excited about that. The event is January 24th, and we will be announcing our Teacher of the Year and our Support Employee of the Year.
And I finished mine last night. Ha, ha, ha.
Superwoman over here.
Took me to 2:30 this morning.
I'd like to wish Ms. Cornegay the best of luck in what you do. And again, as Ms. Condon said, for the last couple of years, you were the person that I contacted too when I had an issue and needed something, and you always took care of it, and I appreciate that. I don't know if all of you are aware, but tonight is Jordan's last night. Jordan is leaving the district, and I'd like to wish Jordan all the best. I heard that he will be moving to Charlotte, right? Oh, you're staying here? Oh, I thought he was moving out of town completely. Well, he's had it with us, and now when it's finally a nice board, we're getting along. Anyway, Jordan, I just wish you all the best, and I thank you for everything you've done for Clay County School District.
Madam Chairman, let me ask you one thing. Were we really not on Comcast tonight? What happened?
This is last
I mean, there's no excuse for this.
Miss Legucco, did we pay the bill?
How much is that? Just get Jordan.
That's not acceptable.
Well, wow.
We need to have a chit chat with them.
All right. Well, Jordan, good luck to you.
Explain it to them.
Thank you. I really, don't have anything else. That's it for me. Mr. Sykes, I apologize that you're not on this agenda. I also didn't realize why it wasn't there. Did you have something that you would like to share with the board?
I had something for the last meeting. I don't have anything except for one thing. Ms. Condon, if you contact Cheryl Canova, who is a board member over in Bradford County, she also worked for Santa Fe Community College, and she has a direct insight. The other person that you need to talk to is Dr. Sasser, who's the president. He has an open line policy. I met him. He's a wonderful man. He's an excellent leader at Santa Fe Community College. And if it takes leader to leader, then Superintendent, you may want to pick up the phone and call him, because Dr. Sasser is the one. And I got to tell you, Santa Fe, my daughter is 18 years old, and she's a senior at FSU because of the education she got at Santa Fe.
Yeah, and I will say that I do happen to have family in Levy County, and they face the same thing. So this is not just a Clay. They're not just singling out Clay. But thank you for that information.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes. Mr. Davis, would you like to add anything?
No, I'm sorry that Jordan's leaving us and staying in town. You know, I hope that I didn't run him off, but no, I appreciate it. I want to say this. It's never always going to be, you know, rainbows, sunshine, and through our collaboration, but it's a healthy component to this organization to have those types of discussions and ask those types of questions. I apologize to the community if they feel that some of my selections may not have been their selection, and to the board as well. But I'm telling you that the accountability is 360 in the sense that anyone that I bring on board will be accountable for doing the job and acting in the best interest of this board or this organization. I'm committed to it, and you have my word, and I will demonstrate that through my actions. Other than that, I appreciate the continued support from everyone on this board, the time that you take my phone calls, the time that you read my emails late at night, but I appreciate you being connected and involved in fighting the right fight for kids in this organization, and you know, I've grown to appreciate your wisdom and your thought process. I will openly apologize to Ms. Gilhausen. Forgot to call Ms. Gilhausen 24 hours ago. We understand we get busy. I apologize. We'll continue to keep you in communications. So other than that, I thank everyone. And Ms. Carnegie, in the last 7 weeks, I told the board member that came from Lake County, you know, they asked me, well, what would you do? And I told her honestly that I think you're a first-round draft pick. You've been great here. I've learned a lot about the county through your lens. And this county will greatly, deeply miss you, but I look forward to working side by side with you. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, our meeting is adjourned.